Hello, hello, hello. Welcome one and all back to my channel. Welcome to Ion Society. Very, very excited to have you guys here. Tonight, we will be looking at Belarus. But first, just a quick update on the situation in Myanmar. There is ongoing protests there. The death toll has now reached over 100 protesters, and it's kind of getting out of hand. But then time will tell. From one dictatorship to another dictatorship, or so it's argued. We're going to discuss the recent protests in Belarus. But first, we're going to go through, as always, the history of the country, the history of the development of the country, and why it's so important to look at these issues. I am joined tonight by Mr. Clapperjack, which we'll be hearing from after the intro video. And of course, I'm here with Tattie-bogle, who is going to be running the stream and keeping me from dying a very, very cruel, embarrassing death. So hello, Tattie.
All right, troops, how's it going? Hey, Crafty? Looking forward to listening into this one. Yeah, certainly a very interesting topic with a lot of talking points in it there. Mind, keep any questions and comments in the chat, folks. We'll try and get through as many as we can.
Yep, and if you can tag either myself or Tattie in your questions, we will definitely put them to Mr. Clapperjack, who has first-hand experience living in Belarus. So, Tattie, can you roll the video, please?
It would be my pleasure. If you give me 3 wee seconds to make sure you are going to hear it, and yep, you are. So 3, 2, 1, video incoming.
We can't hear anything. Tattie? We can't hear that. Or I can't anyway. And help answer some of these questions. During the rise of the USSR, Joseph Stalin pushed a policy of Sovietization on the smaller countries commanded by Russia. The point of this was to create a Belarus is a small country in Eastern Europe. It is landlocked between Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia. It has a population of around 10 million. There are 2 official languages, Belarusian and Russian, with Russian being the more accepted of the 2. Modern-day Belarus didn't come into being until the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1990, with full independence being recognized in 1991. In the last few years, protests have broken out once again in the country against President Alexander Lukashenko. What has happened in the country to spark this fresh round of protest? Did Belarus swap one dictator for another? Is there hope for a genuine democracy for Belarus? Well, tonight we will explore the recent history of Belarus and help answer some of these questions. During the rise of the USSR, Joseph Stalin pushed a policy of Sovietization on the smaller countries commanded by Russia. The point of this was to create a clear division between the Workers' Republic and the Western powers. It was important for Stalin that the West was seen as a real and substantial threat. Khrushchev continued this policy, stating, "The sooner we are all speaking Russian, the faster we can build communism." In fact, in 1988, there was a mass grave of Belarusians found. They were presumed to have been killed by the Russians between 1937 and 1941. This discovery led to a push towards independence for Belarus. The fall of the Berlin Wall was a great opportunity for the nationalists in Belarus. 1990 saw fresh elections for the Supreme Soviet of Belarus SSR, with the country changing its name to the Republic of Belarus on August 25, 1991. Stanislav Shushkevich, the chairman of the Supreme Soviet of Belarus, met with his counterparts from Russia and Ukraine to formally declare the dissolution of the USSR. V.F. Kybek was Belarus's first president. He served in the role from 1991 to 1994 and was well known for his pro-Russian stance. He urged Belarus to forge a monetary union with Russia, quite like today's euro, as he believed there was a spiritual and cultural bond with Russia that should not be severed. His death came in December of 2020 due to the coronavirus. In 1994, following the emergence of a new constitution, Kybek ran against the current president Alexander Lukashenko. Lukashenko lured voters with a populist rhetoric, declaring, "I am neither with the leftists nor with the rightists, but with the people, against those who rob and deceive them." Lukashenko won 45% of the overall vote, promising to protect Belarusian values. It didn't take long for Lukashenko to show his authoritarian cards. In 1995, Lukashenko pushed forward with a referendum on 4 items. 1. Granting the Russian language the status of a state language. Number 2. Changing state symbols. Number 3. Economic integration with Russia. And number 4. Giving the president the right to dissolve parliament. Needless to say that this was heavily opposed by those in parliament, particularly the 4th option, some even going on hunger strike. The Office for Security and Cooperation in Europe found at a parliamentary assembly that neither the referendum nor the 1995 Belarusian parliamentary election, which took place in the same month, had met conditions for free and fair elections. On the 25th of November, it was announced that 70.5% of voters of an 84% turnout had approved the amendment to the Constitution. The US and the EU, however, refused to accept the legitimacy of this referendum. After the referendum, there was an attempt to impeach the president. Lukashenko responded by convening a new parliamentary assembly for those members of parliament who were loyal to him. Several deputies withdrew their signature from the impeachment petition, and the Supreme Council was dismissed by Lukashenko. 1998 saw the Central Bank of Russia suspend trading in the Belarusian ruble, which led to a collapse in the value of the currency. Lukashenko responded to this by taking control of the National Bank of the Republic of Belarus, sacking the entire bank leadership, and blaming the West for the free fall of its currency. The increase in rhetoric towards Western powers saw ambassadors being expelled and a declaration of ambushing by the West. It was around this time that there was a burst of opposition against Lukashenko. A death squad was set up to threaten and kill opposition politicians. In 1999, 3 politicians disappeared. 20 years later, a member of the death squad came forward to reveal what he had done. 2004 saw an abolishment of term limits, leading to the 2-term presidential limit becoming what has now become 6 terms of an authoritarian personality. Belarus has been referred to as the last dictatorship in Europe. Lukashenko continued to consolidate his power in the early 2000s with a range of referenda. These referenda was not seen to the wider world as fair or free. 2014, Lukashenko stepped in to create the Minsk Protocol, an agreement surrounding Russia and Ukraine. This brought the heads of Russia, Ukraine, and the US to the table to agree terms. This meant that there was very little resistance in 2015 elections. Lukashenko was seen on the international stage as somewhat of a hero who was able to create dialogue and end to the violence in Ukraine. Lukashenko realized that the fall of Ukraine or of Russia would have devastating results for Belarus. Which leads us on to today. 2020 saw a fresh round of protests accompanying a new election process. Lukashenko claims to have won by 80% of the vote. However, Lukashenko also declared on national TV that it was actually 95%, but they had to reduce it because it would look too suspicious. The Amal police were some of the most violent in the 2020 protests. A statement by the UN Human Rights Office on September 1st cited more than 450 documented cases of torture and ill treatment of detainees, as well as reports of sexual abuse and rape while in custody. At the end of 2020, the Vyazna Human Rights Center documented over 1,000 such testimonies. With protests not subsiding amidst a growing pandemic that the leadership denies, what is next for Belarus? Yes. What is next indeed? So first of all, I do want to welcome Mr. Clapperjack to the show. Hello, Clapperjack.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on because the first time I've been looking at this for a long time, but the first time I realized about the new protests was when you came on to the pub chat, and I will link the pub chat into the description after the show. And wow.
Yeah, it's been something, that's for sure.
All right, so you live in Belarus.
Indeed, I do.
You know exactly what it's like. For those of us who don't, I want to get what I gave was the broad strokes of kind of the history of the recent history of the country. Take us back to 1994 when Lukashenko was elected. What was that like for the country? How did that come to be? Why was he kind of chosen, and how did it kind of evolve into what we have now, which has seen the abolishment of term limits for presidents, leading to Lukashenko being in office for a 6th time?
Well, as you like in that little clip that you made, it's you did mention a lot of stuff that was important and was true. He did come to power because he was doing the whole populist thing, and it worked surprisingly, because the problem was back then the country was kind of devastated in a way, because when the Soviet Union started to crumble, it crumbled because they couldn't do economics right. The world kept moving on with producing things and having a proper industry with proper economics, with proper money put into things. And we, on the other hand, we try to keep this whole socialist thing going, where the state is doing everything for us, and we're just here. So, and he came in and he said that the previous guy, he crumbled everything. The industry, we have a couple of, our country was the producing power of the Soviet Union. Us and Ukraine were responsible for producing, for example, Ukraine was responsible for producing planes, as far as I remember. And our country was responsible for doing other things. Can't really remember. We kept those factories, like, for example, the tractor factory, the, what's it called? Sodium, I believe. Yeah, we produce sodium. So he said that we should keep those going. Oh, and the agriculture part.
Yes.
So he said that the previous guy killed everything, and we should keep it going. That's why people liked him. They chose him. He promised all of those things, and he kind of sort of delivered. But when he realized that he's finally in power, that he's just going to take control of everything, and he did not care about any kind of decency whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, take us through that, because there was at one point he brings forward the constitutional amendments.
Oh yeah, He
in 1995,
really
96. What happened there?
he still does those. Actually, he spoke about it recently quite a few times that he's going to change the constitution for something. Nobody really understood why, but the only reason that he does that is because he wants to wiggle his way out of trouble. That's the way that he's always been doing this. So when people realized that what kind of person came to power, when they saw how he just arrests people out of the forgot the word. You mentioned in the clip the people that tried to oppose him in the Senate. Yeah, we had a Senate.
Yes.
And people tried to oppose him. They didn't like what he was doing. He didn't like. They saw that he's going the authoritarian route, and they started, resisting. And when they saw that, the other people, the regular folks, like me, they came out on the streets and they started protesting and demanding that he would go away. And rather than, going away, he decided to just flip the Constitution on its head in a way so that he can just stay in power. He flew. I believe there was some assist from Moscow back then, when with their help he did something. I can't really remember what. I've seen so many things. So with their help, he remained in power, basically.
Yes, it kind of alarmed me that some of the senators actually went on hunger strike, and as a response, he just basically said, "Okay, you're out then," and just had a new government formed with those who were loyal. That's incredible. That's incredible to me.
Gary asks a really interesting question about the gulags. There was actually word about that going around that they probably will do that. I don't really know how true that is, but there were some rumors going around about that. Yeah.
Where would gulags have been in Belarus?
Would have been or would be?
Where would they have been if there was gulags?
No. Gary asked if there are any right now.
Oh, okay.
I believe, unless I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have they got any gulags?
Right now, no, but they've been promising.
Well, we'll get into that because we will get into that because the arrest last year was absolutely terrifying. But we'll definitely get into that. I want to go back and kind of give people that timeline of when was it that those flashpoints that we seen last year, when was it that they were really prominent in the country? Because it would seem, if you were to read any Western journal, that there's not much going on in Belarus from around 1996 right through till 2017, 2018.
No, actually, that's not exactly true because 2010, we had a really, really big issue in 2010. That was kind of the peak of people being fed up with. No, you know what? Let's go back a little bit before that. So in 1994 and 96, like I said, he tried to flip the constitution, and that was the first kind of thing with the senators. That's where the repression started. So he successfully stopped people from, voicing their opinion, from opposing him in a way. He got death squads and everything. And so that kind of withered away. So he managed to just do his own thing, chug along, promoting those factories of his, and kind of going the Soviet route, just like doing the whole conservatism thing in a way. So, and when 2010 came along, people were kind of tired of him because, well, they wanted change, like any normal person. And the way that he was, sorry, hang on a second. I need to have some water.
That's okay. Just while you're taking that breath, Now, Opinion says, I spent 6 months making a video about Belarus and Lukashenko. The video really deserves more views. I hope I can shamelessly promote it here. Please do not delete that comment. Get in touch with me, craftykeela@gmail.com. Not only will I put it in the chat, but I will also put it in the description. So craftykeela@gmail.com. Because absolutely, it deserves more views. It deserves more recognition as to what's actually been going on.
I really like Now's videos. It was informative. I also even tweeted that video at the Svetlana's representative guy, and the only thing that he did is like it on Twitter, and I was kind of disappointed. I was like, yeah. So 2010, that's when people came out. They went out on the streets. They were led by the candidates because they tried to participate in the election, and obviously he faked an election just like he did it like this year, the previous year. People were upset, so they went out on the streets, and they went to the center of town. There's a government building and a square called Square of Independence, I believe. Yeah, and that's where a lot of like police officers came out, riot police officers, and they just beat the living souls out of those people. And I even remember back then, I already had access to the internet. I was at the computer, and I was just looking at all of this, and I was, wow, I was completely baffled by that. And he successfully managed to just stomp people out with just this one single action of sort of riot defense thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the second biggest time. And after that, people kind of just gave up, sort of, in a way. And then 2014 came, and everybody knows what 2014 was like.
Yep. And yeah, how do people with dissenting opinions get treated in Belarus these days? I suppose we should. Yeah, I suppose we should talk about 2020. And
Absolutely.
the kind of what. So, can you take us step by step? What happened when, and how did you feel about it? Because you were right up in it at one stage, to the extent that you were filming a protest. You weren't part of the protest. You were filming it. And you were arrested. Yeah. So take us through that. What was it like? Because most of us would know it from a theoretical standpoint. We know from watching, but not from being involved. So tell people kind of what happened in 2020.
So first of all, the COVID. It all started with COVID, because while everybody around us started, kind of panicking in a way, which some people legitimately did a little bit overreact to COVID. But people should have taken precautions. That was the important part. And while everybody around us did take precautions, even Russians, our guy, he was just laughing it off, like, haha, what, like, go and skate. Do you see any viruses flying around? No, I don't see any. So why are you worried? And we just, you could hear the entire country just like facepalm at the same time.
So he was trivializing everything.
He was absolutely vacant. He completely disregarded everything, and the only thanks I can say him that he didn't go the conspiracy route. That's because he could have easily gone there. So naturally, the country didn't take any measures. There was no mask mandates. There was no curfews. There was nothing. The way he argued that we shouldn't have any because our economy would collapse instantly. And in a way, he's kind of right, because the way that he himself constructed this economy of his, it would definitely collapse instantly. If we would start doing what, for example, Europeans were doing, we would, it would be chaos. Because the economy is solely functioning out of loans from Russia, for example, and from selling things from our factories to the West or again to the Russians. And a lot of people were upset about that. People were not happy. And considering that the elections were coming up, they were determined to vote against him. Absolutely.
So were they coming out before? Were they actually coming out in the streets before the elections?
The election. No. Everybody was just living their lives like as if it's nothing happened, really, because, well, protesting in my country is, when everybody, when you say protest, instantly in the heads of my people, every single time, the image of 2010 riots, well, not riots, protests being squashed, appears in their heads. And it kind of like was like that for a while, until 2020 came along. That's where everything changed, because as time goes on, new generations grow up, and so do the people change too with them. No matter how you try to stop it, it's going to happen anyway. So yeah, before nobody protested, but people were angry. And when elections came along, people were kind of expecting that it's going to get falsified again, like always.
Yeah.
But they wanted to. Everybody that I know voted against him. Everybody, even my conservative parents that are just so out there, like they believe the ether theory, that the coronavirus is not real, that AIDS is not real. So they're out there, and even they went out and said, "No, this guy must go. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of seeing him every goddamn day." Just on this basic level, not just because of his policies, just because people are tired. We're tired too. And at the same time, a lot of other things were happening. A lot of interesting people started they didn't really appear out of nowhere, apart from one, which was really suspicious. A lot of regular people. Svetlana, her husband. Then there was this guy, Valery, that was, for a long time, he was the one responsible for creating the high technology park in my country, which was kind of allowed by Lukashenko in a way, because, well, without him, nothing happens in this country.
Yeah.
And all of these people were kind of just like starting to create kind of a wall in front of Lukashenko and his sort of grand prize, the chair, the crown on his head. So he swiftly started to just getting rid of them. This one guy, Victor, he was president of the Russian/Belarusian bank, Gazprom. So
Yes.
it's the Russian bank, Russian Gazprom sort of company that has an affiliate bank, like kind of a daughter bank. I don't really remember how to say it properly. So it's their bank. It's just in our country and kind of operates on in our sort of economy, whatever. He took that guy. That guy just out of nowhere. 26 years he was silent. Now he springs up and he says, yeah, I want to participate in the election. Free, the Belarusian people must be free. And suspicious as fuck. That's what I'm trying to say. So Lukashenko didn't really play any games. He just took over the entire bank. He put him in prison. He took Sveta's husband, put him in prison. The blogger guy, the guy that was responsible for High Technology Park, Valery. He had to flee to Moscow, and even in Moscow, the Russians tried to arrest him because Lukashenko asked for him to be arrested. So
of course,
even when the guy ran to another country, he was still trying to get him.
Jeez.
So thankfully he was smart enough to bounce like really fast to Europe. And that left us with Svetlana and a couple of other girls that were wives and sort of also in kind of trying to get in on this whole protest situation. And Lukashenko made a crucial mistake. He left them alone. He allowed first he allowed them to participate, Svetlana in particular, in the elections, thinking that nobody's going to vote for a woman. He was not even hiding it. He was just outright saying, "Oh, who's going to fucking vote for a housewife?"
Yeah.
Like
Not underestimating her popularity and her
Yeah.
husband's popularity too.
Yeah. He even called her like meatloaf fairy, I believe, something like that.
Jeez.
Anyway, he was just going. That's the problem with this guy, because he never sugarcoats anything. Unlike Putin, Putin tries to be a little bit more reserved. He keeps an illusion of sort of diplomacy, sort of kind of trying to come up with some kind of laws to put a barrier in between himself and the people that are trying to get him off. This guy, on the other hand, he just doesn't sugarcoat anything. He just outright says what he thinks, and then that thing that he said happens straight after that, right away. And
yeah, it's a form of shock therapy, really. Get everyone upset of what you're doing long before you do it, and then just do it anyway. David Oliver asks, does the Kremlin run Belarus, or does Belarus have its own government?
See, that's a really good question, because it's a kind of a yes and no question at the same time. See, Lukashenko is 100% dependent from the Kremlin, because he constantly visits Putin. They're best buddies. You can put it into the search bar and see how many times they were like hanging out. But the problem is that they're not hanging out without a reason. He always asks for loans because he needs to support his own economy. And Russian loans were the only thing kind of what was keep sorry, English.
It's okay.
It
And
was
late.
kind of the only thing that kept us going, because and also the gas, the oil, because we are a transit zone between Ukraine and Europe, and through us, Russia kind of exports gas and oil.
Yeah.
And Lukashenko, being in this kind of position, he's taking a lot of advantage of it. He's been asking for loans. He's been asking for reduced prices from Putin. The biggest joke of them all is when every single year he would ask for reduced prices. Yeah, Putin would give him reduced prices for oil and gas. After he gets the money and the reduced prices, he then just runs off and says, "Oh, those Russians, they're just driving the prices up so high for us. I'm not going to pay that. That's absurd." So throughout the year, Russians and Russians don't do anything about it. Putin never did anything about this. Lukashenko was backstabbing him in the back all the time, 26 years in a row, and Putin took it. He just took it. Don't know why. But I have a theory why. Because Putin looks at us as kind of like a micro and regular evolution, because we are smaller and our country is smaller, and things kind of happen faster in our country, more on a smaller scale compared to Russia. And then Putin just looks what happens here and adopts everything that Lukashenko does. Because, for example, the whole protest suppression, he took that from us. He saw the way that Lukashenko was dealing with us, and then Putin applied the same kind of mechanisms to his own country when that whole Navalny situation happened straight after.
Just really quickly, Gary Pollock says, as much as I love your suggestions in theory, it would be great if you could use sources to back up what you're saying. Gary, I want to address this because it's an important point. When it comes to what we're saying about the coronavirus, for instance, there are videos of Lukashenko being at an ice rink saying these things. I've actually seen it. I will link in the description the original the pub chats in which we actually went in very, very detailed into some of these videos, some of these news headlines. The other thing, what I'll do is between myself, Clapperjack, and No Opinion, we will gather together as much information as we have and the sources that we have and the sources that I have when I was doing the research. And again, I'll put them all into the description. And of course, if you wish to contact Mr. Clapperjack, I'll have his link and his details in the description as well. So if you want to continue this discussion, it is absolutely essential that we're able to give sources. But the problem with it is, first of all, we only have like an hour and a half to discuss all this. So to prevent it from getting very technical heavy, cluttered with stats and news outlets and everything else, and to prevent any blocking of the content, we have to have the conversation a certain way.
Especially that.
Yeah, so I will get you the sources as much as I can. They will be put into the description after the show. I just didn't have time, what with work being crazy, I didn't have the time. Now Opinion says, it seems that Lukashenko wants to recreate the Soviet Union. He loves Putin, even though he somehow keeps backstabbing him. The other thing is, Lukashenko was kind of urging other countries to form a union, a monetary union at one stage with Russia.
Yes,
kind of like the euro.
It actually did happen. It's called the SNG, but that's in Russian, and I would need to retranscribe it. Unionized. Oh shit! I really hate doing this on the fly.
He nationalized the National Bank of Belarus.
Commonwealth of Independent States.
Yes.
So it's kind of like having a free trade platform between countries, like, let's say, a European Union, but we kind of tried to do that, but sort of a financial one in between our countries. And in a way, it also was like the European Union with no visa stuff, but not all of them. Not all of them. Also,
what countries would be in that?
Commonwealth of Independent States. Oh, there's lots. There's Russia. There's Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Moldova. Yeah, there's lots. They tried to touch specifically the kind of the countries that were previously in the Soviet Union, because they tried to pull us in first with the economical kind of dependency. And when that didn't work, well, you see what happened in 2014 and kind of what's happening right now.
So do you think this is, in a sense, do you get a sense that this is kind of like a new push for genuine independence? Because it would seem to me that Lukashenko was elected initially on the idea that he wouldn't be for pro-Russia or pro-West, that he would be focused on Belarus, which in fairness, to some extent, he has been. It didn't take him long to really, and I think that's why he actually got into power in the first place, is because he said, well, I'm not really pro-Russian, I'm not really pro-West. Didn't take him long to shed that, to be honest. Do you think this is a new push for maybe returning, in a way, to the original constitution? The original constitution? Because the original constitution wasn't bad.
No, it was actually pretty decent. And the opposition did try to call for the return of the old constitution. And the only thing that Lukashenko responded with to that is saying, do you want to go back to the 90s? And when people in ex-Soviet states say that, it's kind of a, how should I put this? The 90s weren't great. 90s were pretty shit, because when the Soviet Union fell, there was crime, a hell lot of a crime. There was chaos. People were making like illegal guns. There was so much insane things happening, and and they use that as a mechanism to kind of fork any ideas of making a rollback to the previous constitution. Putin does that a lot too. When people try to ask for change, he says, "What, you want to go back to the 90s or something?" You can have a look at that. I don't really like it.
Isn't it true? I've read somewhere that some of the opposition leaders have been, I don't know if they've been linked or they've been called by the KGB, by Russian, by the Security Council of Russia as terrorists. Svetlana in particular has, I think, she's been called a terrorist.
Correct. They did indeed call Svetlana a terrorist. And ironically enough, the Ukrainians, for some reason, put Sergei in a special list. They have a list for people that kind of sort of lean towards Russia and say things a little bit weird. He was hanging out with a friend that posted a caption on his Instagram or something about like that Crimea is Russia's, and they were like posing in the picture, and that's why they put them in that list. And I believe he's not allowed in Ukraine anymore. So there's a lot of interesting things happening like that.
Sorry, just real quick to break the tension. Second best Bob said, I had a great time in the 90s.
No, 90s were like interesting for lots of people in different places.
Just not in Belarus.
Oh, no.
Sorry. And Gary says, who else said, dump the previous oppressor, dump the West, let's focus on our country and making it better and bring it back the best. World War II starts then. Yeah. To an extent, except for obviously Germany had a lot more political power throughout Europe.
Yeah, not only power, but they were also a far more massive country than us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just really want to quickly say hello to Amanda, Pale Blue Mama. Previously, she just rebranded her channel from Mama Atheist to Pale Blue Mama, and she is amazing. So I just want to say hello to her. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Yeah.
What were you saying?
Well, we kind of sidetracked a little bit from what was happening in 2020.
A little bit.
Yeah. So, Svetlana actually was leading in the polls, but the problem is, like Gary said, the problem is with the sources, because when the government controls literally every single aspect of your life, you can't really share any kind of valid source of information with other people. For example, I can't say that Svetlana won, right? Because a lot of people voted for her, because I personally was asking people, my friends, my family members, because I knew who they were voting for. And it's kind of, yes, it's a small sort of number pool, not of people, kind of small sample size. That's what I'm trying to say. But the government comes out and says, yeah, Lukashenko won with 84% of votes. And whose word are you going to take as truth? Because the government that's been winning, like the guy that's been winning 26 years in a row, and then there's me that doesn't really have. He has the media. He has like every single thing. The national television is his. There's no independent media here, not at all. He exiled and completely squashed every single attempt at that, and all of those people that did try, they fled to Poland and Lithuania, and they kind of sort of tried to spread the news from there. And obviously, like, you can't really put that on television here, so only through the internet you can watch them here. And even then, they blocked their websites in my country, and I can't access them without the use of a VPN. So it's kind of like that. And every single thing that like, for example, people saying that yes, there were reports of rapes, you kind of can't say that that could have been true. The government never will never admit that.
Of course.
And for example, during the protests, like there was a video of a kid. Well, kid, he's kind of like 30-ish. We had a meme where people would sort of outside of their apartment complex in the little square that they usually have a playground in. People were tying little ribbons to represent the original flag of my country, and cops had also a meme to just come in and rip those off. So in this city, in the capital, they had this kind of same situation. Cops come in, people come out, start sort of having an altercation. There's this kid that comes out that was like that lived in that apartment complex. They take him away, and then he dies.
Yeah.
And it was caught on video how they take him away, and the next thing we know, he's dead. So the government said, "Oh, he was drunk." Lukashenko himself said, like, came out on and said multiple times on video, "Yeah, he was drunk," as if that's any kind of argument. The news were starting also to confirm this because Lukashenko formed the narrative, so they had to chuggle along and say the same thing. And then one of the doctors comes out and like posts the post-mortem sort of ticket saying that no, there was zero alcohol in his blood. And they put that guy on trial and put him in prison.
Yeah,
So,
I just want to go into that actually, because between kind of late September and March of this year, Belarus has opened 18 criminal cases just against journalists alone.
Yep.
3 journalists have been sentenced to prison terms ranging between 6 months and 2 years. 7 journalists are awaiting trial behind bars on criminal charges of violating public order, tax evasion, and interfering with police work for actually documenting some of the demonstrations. 1 is under house arrest, accused of insulting the president. I mean, when you talk about repression of the narrative, these are the extremes that you're coming up against. A lot of us in the West, because we think about, people talk really loosely about freedom of speech. They don't have a clue what it means. When you write something and it's the honest truth and you're faced with jail time, I really want to get into this because you have direct experience with this. Can you explain what happened when you were on the protest? You came on the protest to video it. What happened?
Well, I was driving around town that day, and on my bike. I was cycling around, and I've been filming stuff because with actually, ironically, the same camera that I used to make my videos.
Yeah.
Stupid move. Should have took my GoPro with me. Anyway, I find myself inside of also a bike protest, ironically, and suddenly, out of nowhere, there's just these fucking masked people jumping out of like black vans, and they just smack me down to the asphalt, face to the asphalt, and they just take me and the bike to the police station. I'm like, oh shit. If they're gonna find that footage, I'm fucking dead.
Jeez.
Because they would have just ironically enough, the video, I haven't said a single damn word, not one. I managed to save that footage. It wasn't easy. It wasn't
It was
easy, but
not
I
easy.
managed.
You've explained to me how you actually saved that footage,
Yeah,
and it was. But what was
it
it
was
like
something.
actually being arrested? What were you told not to do? What because it was
Well,
not an easy time in prison.
I was really lucky that time because I September was kind of the sort of time where Lukashenko, for some reason, I don't know the reason why, but he kind of told his, you know, police force to pump the brakes a little bit. I don't know why. Absolutely have no clue what was the reason. But when they grabbed me, my experience in when my entire path through this whole shit show, it was quite all right compared to other people that are been beaten to half to death.
Mm.
And ironically, just when I came out, there was videos popping up again of people being beat up in the same place that I was in, like not only like 5 days ago. I was like, oh, that's great. Oh,
That's
Dave actually saw that video.
yeah. There's a few people here would have seen that video, um, because you were cycling around, you were filming the protest. You weren't part of the protest, but you were filming it. And
Oh,
again, guys, if you were standing out in the middle of the street at the wrong place and you were videoing this, you were seen as a journalist, and you were harassed by the cops. I've seen other individuals come forward and say, because again, there's over 1,000 cases now to one of the human rights centers of
yep.
such harassment by just standing there with a camera or with a phone videoing something, and their phones have been smashed, or their phones have been the SD cards have been removed. You know,
Mhm.
it's shocking. It really is for someone like myself. And I've seen police behave in ways they really shouldn't. But we view, the right to free speech as a universal human right, and we kind of forget that it is very, very unique to only a handful of countries in the world.
Yep. That's actually the most important thing. If you ever see your government try to kind of inch in on your rights, never ever allow them to do that, because you're gonna end up like me, and it's not you're not gonna be a happy camper. Just an
So
advice.
in the last couple of weeks, couple of months, as I said, we see the continuation of continued demonization of those who oppose, who are opposition to Lukashenko.
Hmm.
Is there any sense that his, I wouldn't say rule, well, yeah, rule, his power is kind of cracked a little bit? Is there any signs that there might be, because there is talk about sanctions on Belarus? Like, what do you see happening in the next little while, or do you see anything changing?
Well, it's kind of a bit of a multifaceted sort of issue, because there's a lot. It's kind of like a math equation. There's a lot of things playing into it. For example, we didn't have the World Hockey. We were supposed to be hosting the World Hockey Championship in Minsk, and well, obviously, there's a lot of money running on it.
Yeah.
Excuse me for a second.
Well, while,
Yeah.
while we're waiting, actually, Tatty, I sent you a link there for Lukashenko by the ice rink, and just to
Indeed, you did.
explain this, yeah, just to explain this real quick. This is Lukashenko, and we are able to talk. This is Lukashenko talking about the coronavirus, if I'm not mistaken, and basically saying it's ridiculous. So, do you want to show that real quick? I don't think there's sound, but yeah,
Nope.
there are no viruses here. So he really is trivializing the situation.
Yeah. And he was kind of being playful when he said that you don't see viruses flying around, but I'm pretty sure that he was legit about this.
Is there any move? Is there any move at all to see vaccines going into Belarus? Is there any
Well,
precautions? Because you've now reached, I think, I can't remember the figure, but it is an astounding figure at the moment for coronavirus.
oh yeah, pretty much the entire country had it already. Like if they either had it without knowing that they had it, they had it, well, like really badly, or like kind of mildly, like me. And but for the most part, I don't see people getting it again or getting sick more from what was back in winter.
I think, the Russian news agencies say Belarus exceeds 320,000.
Oh, a lot of people died. Even like my mom has a friend, and he had his father's liver failed, so he started turning yellow. And when he called the ambulance and asked for them to take his father to the hospital to help him to, they said, well, look, you can bring him in, but there's a high chance that you're going to get him back in a body bag because of coronavirus. So
Jeez.
that guy, instead of pushing like he should have, maybe he actually would have gotten his father back in the body bag anyway. But his father died because of liver failure. That's it. So
That's scary.
and there's thousands of stories like that across the country. And it all goes back to this motherfucker because of his inaction, because of his sort of funny haha tractor will cure everything. Just
Yeah.
go work. But about the fact that his regime might fall, as I said, multifaceted thing. We didn't have the championship because of that. He didn't get the influx of money like he expected to. Then he went out because of that. He was like the news were really angry. They were saying that we're going to pay really dearly for that. So the people that protest. So then he went out to Putin and asked for a loan, and Putin actually already this was the second time he was asking for a loan. First time it was summer last year. Putin gave him a loan, but he gave him a loan in a really sneaky way. He gave him the loan to cover the debt that he was owning him, and the money that Putin gave him didn't even leave the Russian Federation because of that. So he kind of gave him money, but he didn't. And this time around, when the championship was canceled, he just didn't give him any money at all. He just told him to fuck off. And because of that, Lukashenko doesn't really have any money. Because of that, he tripled our shit. My active vocabulary is acting up today.
That's okay.
We have a thing where we pay for services, public utility. Our public utility bill tripled because of that.
Jesus.
In a way to compensate for the lack of money inside of our economy. So what he's doing is milking us because he has no other option, essentially. And on top of that, as you said, sanctions. A lot of companies in Europe and overall just kind of try to minimize any kind of purchases from his companies, like the sodium, I believe. Was it sodium?
Yeah.
I think I'm mistaken. I'm really sorry. My My English is just trying to completely escape and just leave,
That's okay. That's
run
okay.
for the hills.
I know that feeling. Trust me,
Yeah,
man.
we all do.
I
We
know
all
that
do.
feeling.
But yeah, it would be salt. So it would be sodium.
Uh,
It would be sodium.
potassium fertilizers. That's what they make.
Yes.
And
Calcium.
I heard like some companies started to kind of, because we are actually we have a really big export of the potassium fertilizers, because they apparently they're real popular.
Mr. Andrat says Putin is out to rebuild the Soviet Union.
It's a dream.
Yikes. It is. It's the pipe dream of such men. I believe. Hopefully, it will never happen.
Well,
And I mean,
depends.
I would hope. I would hope. Because we see what's happening with the European project, and the European project is absolutely falling apart. With Brexit, it's just thrown another spanner in the works. They're not. The UK is not the only country who actually want to leave the EU, so that might be on the rocks. So I don't see such unions, quote unquote, actually working long term.
Just something that I remembered. There was a project of the European Union for sponsoring road builds.
Yeah.
They gave us money essentially to build roads across our country, because roads in my country surprisingly are complete trash. We don't have like autobahns, like proper roads,
Highways. Yeah.
highways that connect the country together. So the Europeans sponsored us, gave us a lot of money to build those roads. And they didn't really give it in one go. From what I understand, they were like subsidizing. And I recently like read a news article that they've cut that completely to Lukashenko. So no money from there either.
Well, is that not because he's not using it on the roads?
Don't know, perhaps
Was
because
that not the
he
report
was
that he was given so much, or the department was given so much, and it was funneled out of that department when they got the money
yes.
into something else?
Oh yes, they funnel money like mad. It's not even a secret. They did that with COVID too, because there was a news article, I believe, about the World Bank or something loaning him money for coronavirus relief, and then they couldn't give it to him because he violated some kind of an agreement. Oh, they tried to give him an like sort of a condition to enforce a mask mandate or something, or a quarantine, and he said no thanks.
Yeah. And Russia then came out and said, well, I think Russia came out and said, well, quite like China actually, when it came to Myanmar. Oh, we'll provide stuff for them. We'll give them some of our leftovers of the vaccine, and nothing is coming across. It doesn't seem that anything is coming across at all.
Speaking of the vaccine, I wanted to like say something. They actually, what they're doing is producing the Sputnik V vaccine on the territory of Belarus for us, and whatever to export. Maybe, I don't know. The thing that worries me the most is that if Europe introduces some kind of vaccine passports or something
Yeah.
of that sort, the only thing that we might end up with is the Sputnik V vaccine, and unless you take the vaccine, you can't travel. So, and I'm really don't want to take that Sputnik V stuff. I would take anything else, but that stuff just kind of it's shady. It's shady. So I might actually get stuck here because of the vaccine.
Because it's not a real vaccine, unfortunately.
No,
Hopefully, at some stage, the World Health Organization will be able to hold them to a standard. I genuinely hope that is the outcome, because people need protection.
Definitely.
And to be to the idea of sacrificing even a fifth of your population because you want to be seen as the strong man. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
You can't admit that there's a problem here. Scary.
Actually, I've been looking because when this whole coronavirus thing was happening, I was thinking to make a video about the crazies, the casual suspects that were praising our guy for not doing the whole lockdown, mask mandate, everything, and they ate that up. They loved it, and that was the most upsetting thing because there's a lot of people, surprisingly, in the West that love Lukashenko for some reason. Don't know why. Probably same reasons.
Well, I think in terms of the West, it would seem that it's the only way. They need Lukashenko on their side, just in case they need to reach out to Putin and he's not in the mood to talk to them. That's what it looks like. In terms of the overall power dynamic, it's more he tries to present himself like most of these authoritarians as an individually strong person who's leading his country out of darkness, kind of thing, or out of the developed state from the developed world into or from the developing world into the developed world. But it is scary to see some of the support that he has.
Not only that, like recently we had resurgence, maybe you could call it that, of not even a resurgence. Like there are people that support him like wholeheartedly. They do the whole protest thing, counter protest thing with the flags.
Yeah,
kind of like a Trump rally. They kind of tried to go that route, sort of. And it's so amusing to me because throughout my entire life, and that's a lot, that's 30 fucking years, never have I seen anybody like that before. And I was like, what the fuck what's happening? Who are these people? Where did they come from?
A lot of them would be, well, from experience in other countries, a lot of them are hired. A lot of them are paid a lot of money, and some of them would probably, it's believed, be bussed in from Russia and Ukraine. Because they know, Russia knows that if Lukashenko goes down, that as you said, that's his pathway, that's Putin's pathway to Europe with the oil and gas.
Yep, exactly.
It's going to make it a lot more difficult without Lukashenko.
See, that's why he struck a deal with Merkel to build that gas pipe thing that they so desperately try to keep going, because Lukashenko is in the way, and he's always been in the way.
Because they need to give him things in order for... Well, exactly. It's fair. In fairness, if I was leading a country and the choice was economically the closest thing would be Moscow, would be Russia. They want to use my land or my country to bring all of this stuff over there, and vice versa. What are you going to do? You're going to get a little bit out of it for yourself and for your country. It's the right thing to do. In fairness, if he was giving the use of the land, even for travel, without getting something for the country, it would be even worse. It would literally be Putin's puppet. But the fact that he is saying, no, you can't use our country unless you give us this. The power play is very interesting because it goes both ways. Although Putin is in the more powerful position, he still needs Lukashenko.
Yeah, he's dependent on him, surprisingly. And that's actually where the biggest kind of attribute of Lukashenko comes in. He might be an asshole. He might be like out of his mind, but he is really, really good at sitting on two chairs simultaneously. he's buddy with Putin when it benefits him. When Putin doesn't want to cooperate, he just turns around towards the West and says, "Oh, hey guys, can we like build roads and stuff? Can you give us money for that? You know, maybe." And when the West turns away from him, he turns back to Putin and says, "Oh, those dirty Europeans! Damn, bro, I missed you."
That's it. Well, we're
And he's
going to
been
leave
doing
it.
that for years.
Yeah, we're going to leave it there for now. Because the situation in Belarus, like Myanmar, is going to constantly be evolving, and I hope you come back on and let us know and stay in contact and let us know what's been going on.
Sure.
What happens next? It's all up to you. It is all up to your people, and I genuinely hope things get better. Is there anything you want to shill out before we wrap things up?
Just want to say that I'm about to drop a really, really long and nerve-wracking project that I've been working on tomorrow, probably, not today. It's a video about Jeranism. What I did is broke down like 3-hour-long live streams of his, and it turned out to be like almost 20+ minute video.
The only question I have for you is, why would you torture yourself like that?
I'm kind of a bit of a masochist, and he said a lot of stupid things in those videos. It's kind of a shame to just let it wither away into.
And I think he's coming back. I think he's trying to make a comeback on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It was kind of cute.
Kind of cute. Well, thank you everybody for coming along. Clapperjack, I cannot thank you enough, because the genuine experience that you bring to this discussion is so huge. People need to know. People need to hear what's going on. Open their eyes. Hate to sound like a flirt or you know, a right winger, but people need to know what's going on. And this space is a place where those of us in the kind of debunk atheist community can come together and actually talk about politics, because a lot of people are either tired after 4 years of Donald Trump, or they're afraid to genuinely talk politics. Here, I'm not trying to tell people how to feel about Lukashenko. I'm not trying to tell people how to feel about any individual or any country. I'm here to give you guys the information, and then you can go away, do a bit of research, and decide where you stand yourself. And on that note, next month, we're going to get right into the thick of it, because I am hoping to have Sable Eagle and Faux Hammer on the show next month to talk about, in the light of the recent shootings in the US, genuinely, what would gun control actually look like? We have an idea of what it would look like, but we need to understand what are the limitations. I'll get to that now in a second. What are the limitations? What it could actually be in a real sense in terms of the US. We're going to have a genuine discussion, and we all know the reasons why trigger words like gun control work. But we're going to have a look and see, in terms of the US, what would gun control actually, a real genuine gun control actually look like. I'm really excited about that. And Sable Eagle says, well, I hope Clapperjack's video about Jeranism will at least be interesting.
Yeah, it sure is. Jaren's going to say a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, well, I thank you, because today is, tomorrow, technically today or Sunday, I don't know. This weekend, marks the 1-year anniversary of my channel starting. So I'm really, really happy that Clapperjack could join me in this kind of weekend of stuff. Yeah. Oh, I've put up like, 6 or 7. I do owe people a new challenging conspiracies. So that will be coming very, very, very quickly. I hope. The other thing is Life on the Flip Side is cancelled for this weekend because obviously it's Easter. I'm not a big fan of religious holidays at all, but I did kind of promise my family that I would spend it with them. So Life on the Flip Side will be back on my channel next Sunday, not this Sunday. And the other thing is watch out, because I don't know if I'll go live tomorrow night, but Monday, we are going to be having a celebration on 3 channels, well, 4 channels actually. We're going to have a celebration with Mr. Sensible, because my channel all started on Mr. Sensible's stream. I came into the stream, we were talking, and his audience asked me to start up a channel, and that's where my channel started. I've told the story a million times, but alongside me, 2 incredible human beings also started up a channel out of that live stream. That is PhD Tony and Huge Arse. And I will put their channels also in the description. My description is going to be like 50 foot long. But they are going to be celebrating with me. We're going to start out on Mr. Sensible's channel. We're going to have an hour on each of the 3 channels alongside the people who were instrumental in helping those channels grow in particular. So I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to this. So keep your eyes peeled. It's going to be a fun night. So we're going to bounce from one channel to the next. So please do stay with us for the whole entire thing and support everybody. Aside from that, I think we're done here. So until next time, thank you for coming out. Happy Zombie Jeebus Day, as Teddy so rightly says. Have a good one, guys.
See you on the flip side.
Bye.
Later, folks.